Welcome, folks, to episode 161 of the Morgue official CorpseFeed podcast. And I am Arturo, Padilla, the guy behind the face. And with me, always, is Mr. Nick Valdez. Tex, how are you, man? How you feeling today?
Man. Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Arturo. We've been having some good luck lately in the theaters, so we'll talk about that here in a bit. And so I'm in a better mood, right? When we have good stuff, it's fun to talk about these things. But first, we'll jump into the coming attractions. The first small topic is that Christopher Landon, he's directing Scream 7. And the reason I want to bring this up is because, Christopher Landon, we've talked about here, when we reviewed We Have a Ghost. We never did get to review Freaky. I don't remember if we did.
We should have.
We might have talked about it, right?
We spoke about Freaky, and we spoke about Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2 on some previous episodes a while back. But Tex, this is, in my opinion, good news. Right.
I mean, as much as I love the Ready or Not guys, they gave us, Scream 6, and it was like, oh no. And then they gave, were they behind Scream 5 too? I want to say they were, or something like that.
Yes, they were. They were. It was the same exact team. Yeah.
Yeah. So unfortunately, as much as I love those guys, for Ready or Not, it's one of those things where I don't really trust that view anymore. And
thanks for Ready or Not. I really appreciate that one. You know what I mean? Thank you. But in terms of the having your hands in the big IP, I'm kind of good. It's the same conversation we had last week, right? With David Gordon Green and with The Exorcist, right?
Right. That's
where he did give us this 2018 version of Halloween, which in my opinion is one of the best visions there of that franchise. But then subsequently we got a bunch of garbage after that, right? So here we stand now, right? Where we have this director that we do appreciate, I should say, for his original works. Freaky was pretty awesome. I love the take. I love the dialogue and the back and forth. It was a good written script. The execution was well done. It's the same thing with Happy Death Day, and then the swerve they kind of gave us in the sci-fi-ish sequel, right, for Happy Death Day 2. So and then we have Ghost. We reviewed that a little while ago, and that was a pretty solid family flick, right? And that was a good effort. So I am hoping that we do get a fresh vision in this Scream. Tex, my question to you.
I do wonder though, sorry to interrupt, but wonder whether or not it's a trilogy, is 5, 6, and 7 supposed to be a trilogy, and then we're getting a Scream 3 situation where something brand new comes in?
At this point, Tex, I kind of want somebody to kind of refresh.
It doesn't matter, right?
I kind of want somebody to just come in. Let's go back to Woodsboro, right? I was going to just ask you a little while ago. Do you think maybe what are your thoughts of him maybe bringing back Sydney into the fold?
I think there's a way this can be done right? Just pretend Scream 6 never happened and just do a sequel to 5. Anything, right? You can bring the characters, kill off everybody, be fine with it. The core cast at this point, it's they've survived so much, in 5, 6, and 7 too, where I'm so if 7 comes in and is okay, Sydney's back, Sydney's dead, everybody's dead, Sam is the one that lives or whatever, then she turns into something else for Scream 8. Or
it's interesting.
I'd be fine with that. I'd be fine with not if not that, then do something brand new. Let's do a Scream reboot, a full on let's go to Woodsboro again, right? But just brand new characters,
brand new characters. Let's not have anything to do with Billy Loomis, with any of that bloodline or lineage of any connecting tissue of the original, right?
Face. Yeah, new timeline.
Would you completely reboot it in a sense, hey, let's redo Sydney?
I would even say, no Sydney. Just no, I'm straight up saying, at this point, I would say, hey, new timeline. Give us brand new characters, new, this is a new
So this wouldn't have existed before this movie, right? Like Ghostface is new to us right now, pretty much the audience, right?
Yeah, like this would be the first Ghostface. If it were my idea, if it were my plan, I'd be like, just
I like that
full on rebooting the franchise, and not like meta reboots, like full on, like let's do, honestly, like, you know, Scream's been meta for so long.
Yeah,
I think the only way original to still do it would be to do a straightforward one.
Yeah,
and just
I
do like
wholeheartedly agree with that.
Do a straightforward Ghostface. Like I said, do brand new things, brand new. Don't even call anyone Sydney. Don't do recasting. Don't do anything like that. Straight up, be like, this is the first Ghostface in Woods. You can do Woodsboro if you want to do
Woodsboro for sure.
Yeah, like do Michael Myers adjacent, where it's like, yeah, Woodsboro is just the town, right? It's like it doesn't matter. But it's like, this is the first Ghostface that pops up. This is the first like group of teens that has to deal with it. And then if you want to keep the meta flavor in it, which is still Scream, you can have them reference these movies if they see all these remakes and all this stuff. And then, you know, but not be so like, I don't know. My thing is, if you want to keep it original, next thing to do would be to take it seriously.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with you, Tex. I think there is a possible way to do this without kind of you know, stepping on the toes of the fans and all that stuff, right? And
honestly, just do something new. I think,
and the best way is, as you mentioned, just starting fresh, and make this a brand new like a Ghostface universe where we don't know who Sydney is, or if there is even a Sydney.
Start with a whole new timeline. That way you can have a whole new mystery. You can have, you know, and it matters when someone reveals themselves, because it's like, oh, it's the killer in their friend group, rather than like, oh, it's Sydney's, like, it's someone who was
someone, it's Sydney's like father's brother, you know, who's come back for revenge.
Or like, oh, someone at the grocery she was rude to or something. Like, no, it's just do something completely new. And so on that tangent, moving on with our coming attractions, speaking of something new, we're having issues with the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, because, like, you know,
something new, something old, something very,
and even then, like, the stuff that's new is super meh. Like Secret Invasion, we didn't talk about it here, but just stay away from it. It's the first actual, like, stay away from it in the Marvel stuff. Like, yeah, Marvel's had bad stuff before, but usually you're like, okay, well, you have to see this in order to, like, you have to see Thor 4, because it's like, okay, well, that's where Thor is, you know, and it's like, but with Secret Invasion, total stay away from it. Characters and ideas are introduced that, like, will probably never interact with anything ever again. It's just a big old mess. And I only say all this to say,
I totally stayed away from every second of that show.
And I only say all this to say Loki season 2 dropped a trailer, and we're probably not going to talk about it, to be honest. You know, it's not only that, you have the Jonathan Major stuff. You have, like,
they showed Kang again in the
it's
in the trailer.
It's going full on. So
he's
Kang.
still part of it. So that's full on Kang imagery too. It's like like, you don't just have like him looking like freaking Frederick Douglass, right? You have freaking an image of his face, like in one of the timelines that Loki steps into. Listen, like, I don't know where they're going with any of this. I know that I'm excited for the Marvels, right? And what that can introduce into the fold and everything, and that just looks exciting, because we know a Kamala Khan's character was an exciting character for us. We enjoyed the show, and we like the vibe, and it looks like it's that vibe translated to the movie. But when we're talking about this stuff, right, this Secret Invasion stuff, where apparently Rhodey's character was a Skrull the entire time or something, and I'm like,
it means nothing,
which is garbage, because then, like, it kind of like totally downplays and like and undermines the friendship between Rhodey's character and Tony Stark. You know what I mean?
The implication is that he doesn't know Tony died at the end of Secret. Like the real Rhodey wasn't there when Tony died. So
that's
like
terrible.
It's a terrible. That's a retcon shit, and that's the kind of stuff people got mad in comics for, right?
Yeah,
comics retcon stuff all the time, and then that's why these nerds get up in arms about it. They're like, oh, well, you changed this, and now it's happening in TV. So I kind of get it, where I'm like, oh, well, why would you do that? It's unnecessary.
It's very unnecessary.
Point is, I only bring this up because, it is a newsworthy thing, but also to say that we're probably not going to watch it and review it unless something big comes up that we have to be like, oh, okay, well, this is Marvel as a whole. We'll talk about it when Marvel's comes out.
Yeah, I have no interest, but just real quick before we move on to our next piece of news, there was some casting rumors about some Fantastic Four stuff that just happened. Oh yeah, and if that's this is a problem because the stuff they introduced in Secret Invasion could have been a good segue into the Fantastic Four world because they deal with Skrulls and the Screed the entire time, but now it's
post credits, no nothing in Secret Invasion either.
Yeah, so it's
it was nonsense. It's straight up nonsense.
You know what? It's funny now because the Marvel and DC are just in this limbo stage right now, right?
Well, on top of the strikes and stuff.
On top of the strike stuff, just the state of their universes are just in this kind of purgatory, kind of location right now where everything's very meh, and
so let's jump into a universe that's actually doing stuff, right? So we got the first trailer for Saw X.
Speaking of retcon, right?
Yes. So we talked about this last time, and you were right. I thought it was between 2 and 3, but I have to call this out because Arturo was right the last time. This is in between 1 and 2.
Yes.
John Kramer goes to Mexico to find a cure for his cancer. He gets conned out of something, and then the trailer shows him setting up a whole room for these cons.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering too, because is it another team death game? It doesn't look like it. It kind of looks like he's having them all watch each other's, which would be kind of brutal. I think I like if they're all doing their death games in the same room, which is kind of dope. It's can
honestly,
you imagine somebody going through theirs and you're just sitting there watching them? You're strapped to a chair or something.
Listen, this one came out of the blue, right? I had no idea we were gonna get a Saw movie in the fall. And it is still coming out when things are being pushed back and delayed. This one all of a sudden was we got this one for you guys. I guess they had a sour taste in their mouth after Spiral, right?
And it's funny. Spiral happened apparently. Because Spiral. This is Saw 10.
Exactly. It's Saw 10, and it did happen because this is in the timeline. It's before all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So funny though, it's before all that stuff, but after Jigsaw. Remember? Because in Jigsaw,
because Jigsaw is
another guy working with him.
Yeah, because Jigsaw was we saw bits and pieces of Jigsaw in Spiral, right?
So and in Jigsaw, the implication at the end of that was that it was leading to the events of part 1. Remember, because he's working with the new dude we see
with
in
that
Jigsaw.
Doctor guy, that Doctor Army guy in Jigsaw.
So I'm wondering. So this is just me looking into things. I'm wondering if this is a full-on reboot, but in terms of adjacent timeline. Where it's oh, okay, while the events of 1 or 2 and all that stuff's happening, this is also happening on the side. So we're going to get a bunch of stories that are in between.
Yeah, you know why? Because we also see Sadie Frost's character in the trailer. You know what I mean? So that gives you a sense of where we are time-wise, which is after once, since we saw she was the one that helped get the people, the first 2 guys into that room, right, in part 1.
Yes.
So it would be cool if that guy does kind of show up as his other helper with this game, right?
That's what I'm saying, because it was also the Hoffman at the same time, around then.
Because that guy in Jigsaw was his main apprentice too. On top of that, right? Since he was talented and all this other stuff.
He was retconned into being the main apprentice.
Yeah, exactly. So this one, honestly, dude, I'm down for this. The games look cool.
Why not? Right?
I saw the Red Band trailer, and I was in when I saw the finger snap back. I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm cool. This looks fun.
With tube face, a guy with 2 tubes on his eyes, and I'm wondering, is it a liquid going into the tubes? Is it like the tubes?
That's the poster too. I don't think we saw any of that in the trailer, right?
Yeah, you see the guy for a second. He's the guy with the fingers. So you know. Yeah, we were so focused on the fingers.
So fucked, man. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the same guy. Oh, I can't wait to see what happens to him.
Yeah, because it's like, is it liquid going in the eyes, or is it like the eyes getting sucked out?
And you know what, too, Tex? And you know what? Like, this kind of like, this is why, you know, Saw and Jigsaw and Kramer, John Kramer are so kind of fun, right? Because it's like, yo, these people fucking wronged him. They took his money, right? Pretty much the trailer just gives you the whole story as to what happened, right? Like he got conned, right? They were like, oh yeah, we're gonna remove this tumor, and then all of a sudden he goes back to America, right? And they're like, well, you got conned, my man. They didn't remove shit. You still got a tumor in there. So like, then he grabs these people and does all this awesome bad stuff to them. But it's like, hey, people, you're the bad guys here, you know? So I love how we have this kind of dual evil going on, one good evil, one bad evil, you know? And they're just kind of just rectifying each other right there in the middle. That's the whole thing of Saw, right? He always grabbed people who were just not good people, right? Like,
it was either that or like it depended on who was the actual Jigsaw at the time.
Yeah,
it was either,
it was revenge based, right?
It started out like,
but John Kramer John Kramer Jigsaw was usually just kind of, hey, I have to teach people I have to teach you this ironic lesson,
right? Yeah, I have to teach you this ironic lesson so you appreciate your life. And that's how he gets his, you know, he ends up getting his people helping him because they appreciate life and all blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
I don't know. The point is, I'm wondering if this is an adjacent timeline. It'd be cool if, like, you know, in between, like, oh, you know, he's getting ready for his brain surgery in part 3. So as he's doing that, he's also doing, here's Saw 11 and 12 and 13, where it's like in between 2 and 3 or whatever. And then,
you know what, Tex?
Here's
at this point,
17, dude, 18, and 19 in between like 8 and 9, you know, and Tex, like, I'm ready, dude. I'm ready.
At this point, just bring it, right? Yeah, like at this point, like, because Saw, it is the kind of franchise where it's not really dependent on a slasher, right? It's not dependent on this one character that has to kind of just be out there killing and shit, right?
So Arturo, it is. That's the thing. It is,
but then
it's a single canon where you have, like, it's like Scream, but unlike Scream, where they call attention to the fact that everybody's a different Ghostface. It's literally all the plans of like a single Jigsaw.
Yes, but also I feel like it has the vibe more of like a Hellraiser movie where like you have this thing that goes on, this like one thing that can make shit go bonkers, right? And then you just kind of create a story around that, right? And this is how we're at Saw 10 right now, because people were just using, hey, what else can we do with this Saw shit? And then they retcon. So like, I do enjoy the fact that unlike, you know, like the Jasons and the Chuckies and the Freddys and stuff like that, this Saw franchise is able to live because of all this like bullshit retconning. You know what I mean? Like like of all this, like, hey, I have this really cool idea for a killing contraption. What can we do to get this, you know, on the big screen? Oh, let's say that John Kramer, you know, had to go back to Mexico. Let's do that story. You know what I mean? So it's great. I really enjoy it.
It's a franchise that's not afraid to rewrite itself and make, but that's what I'm saying. That's why it's so appealing, is that it's still on the timeline. That's the thing. It's even when they tried to reboot it with Spiral or whatever, it's still part of the same universe. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, that is what I like about it. He says, yes, you're right. It's just any old idea that they have. But what they do is, what Saw is, they make sure it fits. That's why I'm like, at the end of the day, that's why I'm so appreciative, because what other franchise is still within the same canon
Yeah, they'll make damn sure it should fit. Somehow they'll figure out a fucking way to make it fit.
What I'm saying.
It's
regardless
that was John Kramer's doorman.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, regardless of that, it's still very much like a single entity. It's not like I said, it's not like Scream where you have multiple. Yes, you have multiple Jigsaws, but it's still very much all like, this is John Kramer stuff, which is just, that's what I mean. It's different. It's a different vibe. So,
but that's why too, like in the Scream franchise, we'll get more about this. We'll talk more about Scream in an episode. But like this is why as well when they deviate off of the John Kramer stuff, you know what I mean? Like it feels a little bit more wonky when it's not anything tied directly to him too.
Part of it, yeah.
Yeah. So I am hoping Saw X kind of mediates that little situation and gives us some more some awesome John Kramer stuff. And with that being said, folks, it's time for our feature presentation. And we got a triple feature presentation for you folks today. That's right. 3 o'clock. All right. The first up, we're going to go with the worst of the 3. And by far the worst of the 3. And that is The Meg 2, The Trench. Funny enough, according to the credits, this was based on a book. I want to see what that book looks like, because
really,
it probably doesn't look like this movie. Tex, this is a total stay away from it. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Stay away from this thing. Stay away from the first one. Funny enough, this one was better than the first one, but it's still a total stay away from it. I didn't like this thing, man. I thought they had some opportunities to really kind of do some cool shit. And they totally were like, you know what? We're not going to do that cool thing you thought we were going to do. And we're not going to showcase any of this cool stuff we thought we were going to throw at you guys. So,
here,
vanilla, take that. So, for me, it's a total stay away from it. Tex, how about you, man?
Yeah, no, I 1000% feel the same. It's, for a movie called The Trench, we're in the trench maybe like 30 minutes, I want to say.
Dude, that is such a great point.
I want to say like only a third of the movie is about the trench, and once they get out of the trench, it's the Meg stuff again. It's, I don't know, dude, it's boring. Like,
it's boring.
I know it's a total stay away from it, and I know it's not a good criticism to say, "Oh, it's boring," because it's our job to find reasons why something.
Yeah, because one can say Oppenheimer was boring, right?
Yeah.
But
but here it's just wow. Like, it's harder to find the redeemable qualities.
Yeah, it's really bad, dude.
Yeah, the first one was so boring. Like, it's so like dreadfully, like, it's just ill-paced. Things take forever. Characters are terrible.
No chemistry
dialogue
whatsoever between them. No
chemistry.
Either.
Dialogue sucks. It's a boring story. It's scientists looking at sharks before figuring out the megalodon exists, and then the megalodon, like, in the last 20 minutes doing stuff, and it's a big CG shark. And it's like, oh, it's eating people you don't care about. And
it's like a lot of people you don't give a shit about.
Yeah, it's a packed beach. And it's funny enough that, like, the Meg 2 has the same climax where it's like the beach, the shark comes to the shore and like, okay, all these people, yada, yada, yada. Except this time there's an octopus. Except this time there are land lizards. And which
they didn't even take advantage of that big old, giant squid.
Yeah, and like you see, like it kills like one person off screen. I don't know. It's just bad, dude. Like, the whole time I was thinking, man, Underwater really got it right in terms of being like an underwater, space sub kind of movie where it's like,
keeping it kind of focused, right? Just keeping it kind of like. Things can crazy down there. You might want to do a lot of different ideas because you don't know what how to get out of certain places. But like, it's so
God, it's so whack because it's like it's also like 20 different stories in the same movie. Like
they borrowed like a lot. Underwater one, Underwater being one is definitely borrowed in this one.
It feels like such a long movie, dude. Because not only is there stuff with the humans, but there's stuff with Jonas, who what's his name from the first one, who comes back,
Jason Statham, who by the way is like an environmental kind of
by part 2 he's an environmental like superhero, basically.
Yeah, exactly. He's here to take down
the bad guys who are dumping toxic sludge or whatever,
dude,
instead of like researching megs and saving people or whatever.
It's confusing because in the first one, he's like some dude who's called upon to like save people, like a search and rescue kind of stuff. And then it's funny because they give him a lot of guff for doing his job in the first one. Right off the bat, it's like Jonas, what have you done? Well, it's like, well, if Jonas didn't close that hatch, you all would be dead. But so he had to do what he had to do. So then we get to this one, and you still don't know what he really does. In life, it's your career, buddy.
Now he's working. Now he's working for the brother of the dad and the daughter from the first one who died, and the brother Jingming, I remember him because he ended up being the star of the movie. It's so funny, in terms of actual action sequences.
And he lived, right? Which is pretty cool too.
And I didn't expect that. The only thing that I hated about that is because there are 20 fake out deaths for this dude. This dude is in every action sequence, and there's always something that's oh, he's not gonna make it.
He's gotta be the son of the director or something, dude. Because he just kept coming back.
Dude, it's every single action scene he's in, he's doing something reckless, and it's
you know what though,
right? Where it's is this gonna be it? Is this gonna be the sacrifice?
But he was just such a useful character though, because it's as you mentioned, he was just doing something reckless, but every situation he was doing something, right? He was like, oh, I gotta go back and do the hatch. I'm gonna go make a bomb out of this. I'm gonna go make a bomb out of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He was the hero, and it's well, why is Jason Statham there?
This whole entire you're absolutely right, because then he was the one with the relationship with the fucking with the pet megalodon they had, right? Pretty much. So you're absolutely right. It's the first Extraction where Hemsworth is in there, but the movie is really that other guy's movie, right?
Yes, that is the exact same situation here. It's a perfect way to put it, because
Jason
Statham, he's there from the first one. The little girl, he ended up adopting her in full. They just replaced her with a completely different actress.
Which again, it's I don't think Jonas's father material, but
yeah, and that's the other thing too, right? And we've talked about this in the past, where it's how do you fix a character, make them interesting, make them a parent, right? It's making them a dad in the sequel, and then that's the thing. But then you have this Jingming guy there, and he's doing the big sequences,
he's stealing
right?
the show, man.
Yeah. And so by the end of it, I'm man, I'm all in this guy, rather than So basically, what I'm trying to say is Jason Statham didn't need to be there. He's there for fighting the Megs at the end, but even then, I would have believed if it was this Jingming guy, right?
By the end, you would, you would have been okay, cool, because Statham only acts as this enforcer, this iron hammer, right? When things need to get done, it's just give it to Jonas. Jonas can get it done, right?
Yeah, no,
the thing with the jet skis, and he made these I don't know where he got the saw from, but he made spikes and freaking impaling spikes out of rowers.
And they tied a bomb to it. I'm oh, I don't. That's monster movie logic where I was just fine, right? But then you get the human plots, and there's these so many. There are all these human stories, right? Because there's they're in an underwater base, and there's a mole. There's someone trying to kill them. But they're also mining the trench for materials.
Yeah, for $1 billion stones or something.
Yeah, and
Jonas was is that a billion with a B? It's yes.
And when they go down there, they've already had an underwater base all set up. And
dude, which by the way, how did you not know this was happening?
Yeah,
right? Like
and then the bad guys have the suits that the company made.
it's
and
like, yes, granted, it is because the lady who's who's the funder of the company, the head of the company,
right.
the lady, yeah, like I
Spoilers,
understand. Yeah, who
she's the
cares?
traitor.
Fuck
Yeah.
that. Like you understand that, okay, cool, she's supplying them the tech. Cool, whatever. That's evildoer 90s shit, which, by the way, this movie is like a bad 90s action flick.
Dude,
So
terrible.
then my thing is, like, Jingming, right? He has this very elaborate aquatic research station, right? With a fucking megalodon there.
You wouldn't know that you're spending money on like a fucking mining rig
and then supposedly have like they're the only ones with the technology to break this thermal kind of level between like the megalodon level of world and like the regular ocean and shit, right? So now like how do you not know there's a whole freaking mining station down there, dude?
Yeah, it's like, how do you not know that you're paying for it, first of all, and second of all, that it's like that exists, and then
missing
then
suits,
he's like,
bro.
surprised.
You're missing suits.
Yeah, he's like surprised. He's like, how did they get my suit technology? Well, it's like, well, what did you expect?
It's like well,
you built this, right? And so, but yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is just all confusing story stuff that didn't need to be there. You had people. You had one of the people work for like betrayer or like traitor on them, and they were like, "Oh my god, you're a traitor!" And I'm like, "Who is this lady?"
And then she was the girlfriend of that Spanish bad guy.
Yeah,
right, of that Cuban guy, whatever the fuck he was.
That lady's such a bad actress. Like, I'm just like, yo, I feel for her. I'm like, yo, this is not your time to shine. Yeah, this was your big role, and you didn't do it. You know,
no,
she didn't make it.
Not at all.
She didn't make it. And
she did not make that one at all.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, wrapping my part of this up, because I'm like, I don't want to spend this whole time talking about Meg because he doesn't deserve it. Like,
it sucks enough.
That's what it is.
It's bad enough. It's like 2 hours long, right?
Dude, yeah. Like, that's what ultimately where I'm going to sit with it too, Arturo. It's like, man, this would have been fine if it ended like fucking, like, if it ended at the 90-minute mark. Like, this is just, it was just egregious. Like, I was like, man, this is a terrible movie.
Yeah, I definitely thought they had an opportunity to like really do something cool with like the trend. Stuff, right,
better story, right? Like, that's the thing is positives. It at least had a story. The first one did not.
It did. The first one was garbage. No, but this one had the opportunity to give you something a bit more entertaining, especially with a freaking giant like octopus squid thing coming out, which they were so afraid to really show you what it really was.
They showed you for a second, like on screen, right? Like
and that was at the end when it got like entangled with the shark and shit.
Yeah,
and that was annoying because I'm like, oh, that was kind of your story right there. Like, hey, you have a bigger threat here, which is this fucking kraken. Coming out of the ocean, bigger than the megalodons, right? And then you have this one megalodon on your side, so you have this story there, that you can easily have milked, but then you supported it with like garbage around it, pretty much, So
that's really what it was.
Yeah,
just a lot of garbage.
It sucks. Stay away from this one, folks, and stay away from the first one. Don't even bother. We saw it, so you guys don't have to see it.
If you're just watch a shark movie, I guess. If you're gonna watch one, watch Jaws.
Jaws. Jaws was good.
If you want something goofy, do Sharknado, do Deep Blue Sea. Honestly, if you want something goofy, do Deep Blue Sea.
If you want something like right in the middle, watch The Shallows with Blake Lively. That one was pretty decent, actually. Anyways, folks, moving on with this triple feature. Next up, we have a surprising a surprising show, honestly. Twisted Metal, Peacock's very own original show, streaming on Peacock. Dude, like, I had so much fun with this show. I flew by 10 episodes, 30 minutes each. The thing felt like I was just watching one long movie cut really well, and I feel that's super important to a show, especially a show like this where it can get very excessive, right? Like, it was just the right amount of time with each character, the right amount of time with this universe. I really enjoyed this show. I think it's a definite I mean, you know what? I would say pay for it. Go get the trial, man. It's a fun show. Like, there's nothing here that I can't say that it's I can't deny not having a lot of fun with this one, man. At first, like it
Yeah.
takes the first episode to get accustomed to the goofballness of everything, especially especially Anthony Mackie's character, right? And so once you get acclimated with that, you're like, oh, okay. And then the episodes fly by so quickly that you're like, oh, I want to know a little more, and then they sprinkle in a bit more of the story. I really enjoyed. I say watch it as well for those folks, because everybody knows Twisted Metal, right? A lot of people understand Twisted Metal, you know, and the PlayStation 1, the PlayStation 2, the Twisted Metal Black, and all that stuff. Like, it's a good IP, you know, especially with Sweet Tooth kind of helming everything all these years on the face of the video game. I really enjoyed how they kind of presented this package, because they easily could have just done like, hey, let's just do Death Race, right? You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They actually didn't. They didn't do the lazy approach. They actually did the work, and they built this kind of really cool universe around this video game. And I'm really impressed, man. Tex, as you being the video game guru here on the show, what are your thoughts of this, man?
No, I agree. I do also think it's a pay for it. Like in terms of like, if you have Peacock, let's say you did a Peacock trial you're watching SummerSlam. We're recording this the weekend of SummerSlam, and if you rent, like if you got the trial so you can watch SummerSlam weekend, watch Twisted Metal. Like it's 10 episodes, like 30 minutes. So first of all, a 30-minute show is going to be ranked way better than anything like that, so give it props for that. But also, it's paced like a TV show too. Like each episode, it's got like its own little episodic thing. But then like, there are also bits of like this bigger universe. And that's what you were leading into, Arturo, where it's like it's not just like the cars you're shooting at each other. They built like this post-apocalyptic world that's like, honestly super interesting, right? Like, so Anthony Mackie's character, he's a milkman. They call him a milkman because he just makes deliveries of random stuff and travels through this world that they explain that got, so they just basically let all the criminals out, right? Just to like it's purge rules kind of things, because there was like this big apocalypse, this big shutdown, and criminals just took over America. And so that's what it is. It's just
it's like the premise in the Judge Dredd comics with the megacities, right? They built the megacities in order to kind of control everything and to kind of weed out all the like mutants and all the like bad people and the evil outside the city. So it's the same kind of idea, and it's super cool because like I don't remember much of the video game, but I don't think we got that kind of story. I remember,
the video
especially
game, it's literally just the tournament itself.
The tournament itself,
fighting.
right?
Yeah,
I know. In Twisted Metal Black, which was like the revamped version for PS2, right? Was it PS2 or PS3? Right, it was one of those. They kind of gave a better backstory to each of these kind of players, and I think that kind of helped them get to where they are right now. And again, like. It's
great, dude. Like, so the show, if you didn't know, like watching all the, like, you would just think they're characters, right? But honestly, they're all characters from the video games, which is wild. Like, and when they start clicking in place, and you start seeing the interpretation of like, here's the Indy car driver, that we've seen in the game. Here's Sweet Tooth. There's spoilers, but Roadkill, when they finally get Roadkill's a prominent one from the game. So it's like, okay. It's stuff like that, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, you get Roadkill, you get Twister, right? Yes. Like I said, they do a very good job of just kind of making it make sense, right? Like, especially like when everything connects at the end and you're like, oh, this is very dope, and I really have to give a lot of props to that, because the idea of the video game is such like a very like primitive kind of like gaming inert feeling. Oh, let's get in cars and blow each other up kind of thing. You know what I mean? A lot of kudos to that, man. And it's, what I really else enjoyed was, like all the little backstory we got. Like every character had their little, their kind of development go on throughout the show, right? We get the backstory of Sweet Tooth, and we get the backstory of Officers of Agent Stone, and of John Doe and stuff.
Even like the side characters like Mike and Stu, like those guys, like even they had something like. Yeah. You're right. Everybody had their own little thing going on, then
Quiet was, I think, a great addition to just the whole universe. I don't think that character in particular exists.
No.
In the actual roster of the game. And I think that was like, again, they didn't do the lazy thing, which is just, let's just fall on the game and the stories that they gave these characters, right? Let's kind of do the work and make sure this makes sense, because they're giving us money to do this, and a pretty decent cast, right? So I can't say enough about how much everything just gels together, and how easy it is to watch the show because of how everything gels. Like, for instance, so Anthony Mackie, that was the toughest part for me to click on first, because, I didn't understand how he was playing it until I saw the whole first episode. And I'm like, okay, so he's taking the goofy route, the very lighthearted route. And after you get that, everything else is kind of like just, it's okay, right? Like, you understand everything else. Like, once you understand how Mackie's playing it out, right? Like, oh, he's playing it like this. You're like, oh, okay. And then we see that throughout the whole show. Like, we get what's the dude from the League shows up, right, with the beard, right?
Yes, Mantzoukas.
Yeah. So he was great. Like, he was doing his martial arts and all that stuff. So that was it's stuff like that really stands out, and like, all these little characters just pop, right? And like I mentioned, they do a good job with the cast, right? Because everyone's kind of interesting, right? Even the side characters. Stu's interesting. You know what I mean? You get the Agent Stone, the minions of Agent Stone and stuff like that. So you have all these little characters that kind of make this really fun, man. And wow, I'm just really impressed that they kind of pulled it off, dude.
Ultimately,
I didn't know what to expect, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool, man. Really impressed.
Yeah, because ultimately, I didn't know what to expect either. Because, like, I was just watching it, and this was, behind the curtain. I was like, after I like watched a few episodes, I texted Arturo. I'm like, yo, like, go to Peep It. I'm like, yo, check it out. Let's see if we can, toss it a review this week. And then. Yeah, we both ended up watching the show in like a matter of days. And
dude, it took me 2 days to watch the show.
Same here. Yeah. It flies by. It's because that's the thing. I completely agree with you. That first episode, it takes getting used to the world, right? Where it's like, because it throws a lot at you like right away. Because it's like, oh, okay, but that's the litmus test where it's like, okay, this is Twisted Metal. It gives you like the exaggerated thing of like, but then you realize that the whole show isn't like that. Like, the show isn't all like, big wacky stuff all the time. There's a lot of like actual character development stuff.
Yeah, there is. And again, this is why we have Anthony Mackie in the show, right?
Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, it was so, like, we talked about, we have a ghost. We talk about Christopher Landon here, which is funny. It's this thing of like, oh yeah, Anthony Mackie can act.
And this is why it's like, man, they got this dude for the low, I guess, but a very underrated guy. And the moments you need him to do, his job, he does his job very well.
Yeah.
And then he brings it back to like the whole goofiness of everything. So,
dude, and if you want to see somebody who gets it, right? Who's like, who like, I'm sure they pitched him on it. He understands what he's doing, and he understands what he's in. And the show, man, I hope it gets picked up for season 2.
I'm excited for it, man. Especially what's coming, right?
Yeah, for what got teased, like, it's so that's what I mean. Capping my review off on it, it's definitely pay for it. It's more surprising than you would expect. Like, there's a story there, which is just like the huge thing. I'm like, yo, I'll give him credit for giving me an interesting story for a season. I'm down.
I was captivated, folks, and I'm pretty sure you guys will be pretty interested as well. And that being said, folks, next and last, but most certainly not least, the headliner of this triple feature, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, folks. And this, off the bat, go watch this thing. Just go stop. Just stop. Press pause. You can come back to this anytime. Go to the theaters, all right? Go catch a matinee if you can. Go watch this thing. It looks exquisite. It looks gorgeous. I don't know what kind of animation style they use, if it was a combination of computer and animation and actual like manual drawing and stuff, but it looked absolutely gorgeous. The entire cast was gelled extremely well. The voice acting was great. Movie was freaking great. It was great. Dare I say, maybe a 10. Close to a 10 as I've seen all year, to be honest with you. This was so much fun. My kids loved it. I loved it. I can't wait to see it again. Tex, what'd you think?
Yeah, no, 100% agree. It's also total pay for it, and I do have to say this as an employee at Paramount. These are still opinions are my own, like straight up. But like legit, I also can't wait to see it again. Like it when before this movie hit, it got announced that it was getting a sequel and a TV show like tied into the events of the movie. And so after seeing the movie, I 100% get it. I'm like, oh, I understand why someone would like see this and be like, okay, give us as much as you got. Because I'm in. Like, dude, like it's a total new origin story. It feels fresh. These kids, like these teens who, like I was telling you off air, like we got to start learning the names of these casting directors, right?
Yeah.
Like whoever makes the decision to like who finds these people and they're like, yo, put them in a room together and then like letting them go.
They probably worked for Marvel, you know what I mean? Because Marvel was like, we're cutting costs. They're like, well, we're jumping ship.
Yeah,
because Marvel at one point had awesome casting directors, and as Tex was mentioning, like you have to mention it simply because of how well every character comes across, right, Tex? How well every actor and actress does their job to make these characters come across. And like it's so wild. Like for instance, like Superfly, like so wild, like how Ice Cube just freaking worked so well, right? And and Ice Cube's tone, like he's a bit like if everybody's seen Friday and stuff like that, Ice Cube is a little bit rough around the edges when it comes to his delivery.
Ice Cube is just Ice Cube.
And he's Ice Cube, he has a very even in freaking 21 Jump Street, you know what I mean?
Yes.
He's doing the Ice Cube,
He was just Ice Cube.
So
in every movie he's in.
It's so good. Like his character just works so well with Superfly and the story of Superfly too, right? Let's not get it twisted. Like there's the story of the Turtles too, right? But then there's this other story of Superfly as well, of how of his origins and his story and how everything he's saying kind of makes sense, So they actually gave you this good villain who had like every right to be upset, And then like Tex mentioned, we get this different origin story, which in my opinion, I love it. I think it's my favorite iteration of the story because it just makes a little bit more sense. You know how in the movies, Splinter was like Shredder's like pet rat and shit, and then he would do ninja shit with Shredder, and and then this is how he became a ninja master and shit. But this one, it's totally different, man. It's totally different. It's totally it's a lot more realistic, right? Like in terms of the actual animals that mutated, right?
Yeah. It's so funny too. Like you get like, and it's not only that, like you get like this super emotional moment of like shows you why Splinter hates humans. Yes. And it's like, and it gives you all the reason to believe him too. It's one of those things, right? Where it's like, no one's really in the wrong. But until Superfly's like, no, I'm gonna kill all the humans, right? And then it's like, oh, whoa, okay, but and it comes through in the end. But that's the thing, like, I just gotta go back to these turtles some more, man. Like,
let's do it.
Because I feel like I don't, it's hard to tell with the recording process, right? Because it's like with these movies, you either have people like in a booth by themselves doing their parts all alone, just kind of. I feel like in this one they had them all in the room together.
I agree.
Kind of like, right? Like, and there's no way that they all did that separately.
No,
like,
it's not possible. Like, especially being young actors, the timing of all that stuff was too natural for them to be apart, you know?
Yeah, like,
it's like when you know, a band records, you know, their tracks separately in comparison to live. There's a different vibe there when the band is all playing together, you know, and this is the same vibe I got here.
1000%. You were right on the money, because like there are scenes where like in any other movie you'd be like, oh well, this is unnecessary. You'd be like, it's just slowing us down to like give us this moment between the brothers. But there are so many moments in this movie where they're just going off in their own little worlds and tangents in the conversations with each other, right? Where it's just like, it's like, yo, it's just time. It's showing us that they're actual brothers. It's just giving us these moments to like really, and those are my favorite, where they're just going off in their own like references. Because
it's such kid stuff, you know. As a father of two, and like, you know, they're in the age range, you know, between you know, 8 and 11, pretty much, right? And it's, you feel that, like, especially as they're, as you mentioned, all the little side talk, the little quips within each other and stuff. It just feels so brotherly, so sibling-esque, and that's been what's missing, in my opinion, from a lot of the Turtles stuff, man. Even from the OG stuff, even felt just like a bunch of teenagers hanging out, you know. This one feels like, you know, these are brothers, you know. And I love how they drew the baby turtles, and how they drew them growing up. You see Raph, the little chunky one. And the drawing works as well to kind of grab you as well, because they do such a great job of making them look like, you know, these babies, you know, that like it's these like not just like animals, but these, you know, these people, you know.
It's wild, because like you want to say that it's been inspired by Spider-Verse, but like I kind of get in that, you know, it's inspired in the way of like, okay, well, let's just do whatever we want with the art design, right? Like, because here it's totally different. Like, characters are designed to be like a little angular, a little whatever, but it's very cartoony and comic booky, and like the scribbles are such a cool thing of like, you get these little like
it looks better than Spider-Verse, man, in my opinion.
That's the thing. It's like, it's tough because, you know, like we were saying before, that, you know, Spider-Verse kind of launched all these things, right?
But, and it's like, but Spider-Verse is cool because it does all that cool, like, a different animation stuff. But this one, like, man,
but this one, it's like,
it gave you this whole package in this one look, right? And like, and that look was just like awesome. Like in Spider-Verse, we give it its credit. It's Oscar winning, obviously. You got to give it its due. It has the different styles, right? But that's because of the multiverse aspect of it all. Like this one, we got like this nice one package, right? One story with one kind of style. It didn't take us to a bunch of different things. If we saw a different looking style, that was because the character deemed it, right? Like the mutants, for example, like the slug one, right? I forgot what the name of the slug one was. Like they had a chunkier looking meteor style in comparison to like Mondo. Then Superfly had this armor looking cartoony style. It was like a cartoon style layered with like this like really cool like neon mapping thing. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it just looked really awesome, man. It caught the eye of pretty much everyone there, because my son, who's 8, he's like, Dad, this movie looked awesome. It looked better than Spider-Man, he even told me. So and again, I'm really impressed with the way they were able to kind of just give us this new origin, right? We got a new April, we got a new Turtles teenage origin story.
We gotta go a whole new world, basically. Like a whole new,
a whole new Splinter kind of story as well.
I know, because it sucks, because I want to talk about more of this stuff, but honestly, like,
I don't want to spoil everything. You know what I mean?
I don't want to spoil it. Because it's the same thing with Twisted Metal. Like, there was one big thing that I wanted to praise, but I'm like, no, that would be spoiling the fun of it. And so it's the same kind of thing here, where like, there's one cool aspect of the ending and how it plays into like the way it flips it on the show, you know, where it's like where the bad guys are, you know, not to give that away, but it's like the bad guys are in a different place in the movie than they are than they were in the old show, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like this is all cool. This is just cool ideas in terms of like what this means. It feels new. It's the same thing we were talking about with Talk to Me, right? Where it's like, man, like there's just this energy here that's just like I love it. I love that it's just new, man. It feels, like, it's the Turtles. It's wild,
it's a
right?
good vibe. It's a really good vibe, and like we said before, it really comes down to the casting, right? And how they and what they decided to do with these characters, because they could have gone any direction they wanted to with this thing. You know what I mean? It was theirs, obviously, to kind of interpret, and they chose this new iteration, which I think was super smart. It's an easy way to click with the kids, man. Like they're kids, like legit, like they're fucking on TikTok and the socials and listening to Drake.
That's the other thing.
You know what I mean? And all this
references,
stuff.
anime references,
like totally up to date, like references. Like I think it's about time. You know what I mean? It's about time, because even in the other iterations after our 80s iteration of Turtles, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like there was never an attempt to click with the current youth. You know, it was always that kind of the cowabunga kind of shit.
Yeah,
you know?
So, exactly.
So this one, at least, like you hold that same, heart of the original guys. You know what I mean? But then you actually make it into teenagers, like into kids,
It's such a so one joke I wanted to call out that was just like, I'm still thinking about it. It's the last names joke. It's one where like
Nardo,
it's not
right?
even something that I've ever thought of, right? Where I'm like, no wonder they don't. Like, it's like, they don't have last names.
They don't have last names,
and so they decided to like cut. Like Michelangelo's like, oh well, I'll be Michelangelo, and he's like, Michelangelo. So they call him Nardo. They call Leonardo.
Leo Nardo.
Nardo, yes. They calling him Nardo. And it's just
dude.
The funniest thing, dude.
It's like, good. It's good. It's really well done stuff. Also, I enjoyed April. I liked how she was just like this, school reporter, just trying to make a name for herself.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah,
I love the throw up gimmick there. I thought that was a cool, a cool thing to do. But honestly, just to wrap this thing up and not to spoil anymore for you guys, there's a really big emotional core here that you get early on, which is pretty much, these turtles want to be kind of real kids, and they want to hang out with the humans and stuff like that. They want to interact with the real world. You get that Pinocchio kind of angle there, where they want to kind of be real, because they realize that their images and the way they look is a problem, so this is also like a good story to instill in this generation, because everyone looks so different, and I really enjoyed how they gave it that, and again, the cast does a great job of executing that emotional story here, along with all the other fun stuff.
Yeah,
right, Tex?
that's the other thing too. Yeah, 1000% is that all that absolutely works. Like that's what I'm like, man. These kids, I'm so impressed.
Yeah,
where it's like,
impressive.
like I wonder if they're going to stop at voice work, or if not. I'm pretty sure this Turtles bag has got them locked down for a while. Good for them. Like,
good for them, man.
Because that's the thing. I'm like, man, these kids are gonna explode. And I hope if Paramount is right, if Paramount is lucky, they've locked them down for for the future, right? Because like, I'm pretty sure these Turtles can sustain a sequel and a TV show, and then like another sequel and all that stuff. Because like, I'm in.
Yeah, the way they built it, like you want to more. You want to be involved in their world. Like you want to find out what they're gonna do tomorrow. You know what I mean? You want to see what Splinter's gonna do. Like down there with his crazy self, right?
So and there are so many like characters from like the cartoons and stuff, like Krang. Like I want to see what they do when they start doing.
Yes,
Krang
that's
stuff.
right, man.
There's like the dinosaur aliens with like
there's
the
Casey
Triceratops.
Jones. They haven't done that one yet, right?
Casey Jones definitely coming in the sequel,
right, dude?
That's a must. Yeah,
very exciting.
Folks,
go watch this thing.
Yeah.
we can't talk about it more because we'll start spoiling it, and we kind of don't really want to do that.
Yeah, part of the fun is like watching it.
Yeah, because it's so fun, man. It's fun, and you know what? It flies by, dude.
Like it felt short.
We talked about like the Meg feeling so long. Like this one like flew by. I remember when I had the opportunity to see it in the early screening thing that they had like the Saturday before the release, and I was like, Tex, I want to go see this thing, and then I was like, Tex, I'm done seeing this thing, and he was like, oh wow, and then it's the same thing when Tex went to go see. He was like, all right, I'm gonna go see it. Then he comes out again, legit like an hour and 20 minutes later. I had to look at the time, like, holy shit, that was super fast. This thing flies by, but like it grabs you from point A to point B to point C. From the first second to the very last second, you're in it to win it. 100%.
We're
go
looking
pay
at
for this thing.
A movie of the year contender. We're gonna add that to Talk to Me. Let's see what else. Sick is up there right now.
Yeah. Talk to Me legit is like a front runner for the toe tag because there's not much else, folks. I've been watching a lot. As you see, I don't stop watching horror movies, right? Just because I don't talk about them here on the Morgue doesn't mean I'm not watching horror movies. You guys see all the garbage I have seen for you guys out there.
Oh my God.
And the Meg was one bullet that we had to take for you guys.
Oh, the Meg was so
but
bad.
this is why we're here, folks. This is why we are here, to take the bullets for you guys and to tell you to go watch good movies and go watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem in theaters. I tried to catch a 3D show. I really want to see how that looks like. If you can't catch a 3D show, I'm pretty sure it'll look dope. But just catch a matinee, catch any kind of version you can see it. Also, like Tex mentioned, if you got Peacock for the SummerSlam trial, check out Twisted Metal. If you don't have Peacock for the SummerSlam trial, what are you doing? Get it. SummerSlam is, it's coming up soon. You can watch Peacock as well.
Yeah, I was like, by the time they hear this, it has already happened.
They can still watch the replay, though, right?
Yeah, watch that replay.
Watch the replay. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing here, Tex. And that being said, folks, thank you for listening. This has been episode 161 of the Morgue official CorpseFeed podcast. I'm Arturo Padilla, the guy behind the face, and with me always is Mr. Nick Valdez. A big shout out goes to Del Virus for this awesome artwork you see in front of you. A big shout out goes to you guys for listening. We have 160 of these for you guys in the archives. Go check them out anywhere you get your podcasts. That's Spotify, Amazon, Apple, anywhere on the desktop. iHeartRadio as well has us on there. Go check us out. You can also catch this show dropping every Monday at 4:20. And you can also catch the YouTube replay every Monday at 6 p.m. So just go check us out there. Go rate, go like, subscribe, go share us out there. Go check out our socials, all right? We're always posting horror reviews over there on CorpseFeed. I'm on Threads as well. Give us a shout out. Go subscribe. Go share us out there. And remember, folks, it's a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.